Ladies and gentlemen, it's your favourite white colonizer Zionist prince coming to you live from the United States of America. I'm told the travelling clat. Get your merchandise in the description if you want to support the channel. Let's get into this clip.
Well, Sarah, this brings us on to what you said in the wake of the Salman Rushdie thing, because while
This accent was not racially motivated in the intro, by the way.
I think you're right that a lot of people fear being smeared or called, Islamophobic or racist or whatever for talking about some of these issues, I also think it's very clear now that there's good reason to be fearful, in Europe at least, if you speak up about some of these issues, or if you criticize the faith as you do, that you're likely to find yourself in danger. And the point that you made in your brilliant article was that we in the West have become confused about the source of that violence and where it comes from. Because we think, well, these people are so offended by something that's been said that they are outraged and that's why they're reacting this way. But it's not true.
Yeah. We tend to look at things from this, psychological perspective. We're hurting people's self-esteem, we're offending them, we're evoking emotions in them that are unpleasant, and thus they are reacting to our provocation. And I find that it is completely missing the point when it comes to what's going on with at least the more radical fringes of Islam, certainly, and I think, in fact, much of the problems that we're seeing. But in the radical fringes, they don't feel offended. And even if they do, that's not what's motivating them. That's not why they're moving forward. That's not why they're going to stab you tomorrow, because they're so offended and they just can't control themselves. And that's even a racist idea on some level, that you are so incapable of controlling your emotions that you can't help but have it just burst out of you in a fit of violence and rage. It's a condescension as well as just a point-blank misunderstanding.
So what is the
what's
truth?
going on.
What is it that motivates them?
What's motivating them is that they understand their faith as calling on them to defend it when it is attacked. So when somebody is taking part in an action that is prohibited by Islam, extremely prohibited by Islam in the case of drawing Muhammad, then they must, as dutiful Muslims, they must act and defend this faith, act in the way that God would want them to act. So it's less of a personal thing and more of this cosmic thing of defending this idea.
So it's essentially enforcing a blasphemy law on the West.
On everyone. On everyone. It is a de facto blasphemy law that the entire world is, in one form or another, going through. And unfortunately, I mean, this is one of the trickier elements of it that you have to be able to just articulate, even though it's so difficult to articulate, that the higher the percentage of Muslims in your locality, the more that this blasphemy prohibition becomes actual de facto law, becomes something that you have to fear when you start talking about this religion. And so I think in America, I have less to fear than I do in many other parts of the world. I think I have less to fear here than I do in some parts of Europe, many parts of Europe, unfortunately. And this is also I even feel bad saying it because you're not supposed to talk about these things. But realistically, of course, if there's more people around you to hear what you're saying, to then interpret their belief in this very literal way, you're more likely to be in danger.
I mean, very compelling and very true. Those of you guys who are watching in the West, okay? I live in the Middle East. I live in Israel. You have to understand something. For there to be blasphemy laws against drawing the Prophet Muhammad alayhi wasallam in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE, in Bahrain, in Oman, in countries that have been eternally linked to this Prophet and to Islam, I can understand it. I can even respect it at a certain point. While I don't agree with that myself, I can respect it because I can visit your country and not draw the Prophet Muhammad. And I have no intention of ever drawing the Prophet Muhammad. I don't want to draw the Prophet Muhammad. There's no yearning inside of me to do it. But when you are a religion from a foreign place, from far away, and you have a history of colonization, like the way you colonized the Middle East and North Africa, and then you come to Europe, usually under guise of escaping a bad life somewhere else, and you start imposing those same laws onto European society, onto Western society, that's fundamentally wrong. And that's not me suggesting that Europeans and Westerners should be drawing the Prophet Muhammad. But if they want to, they should have every right to do so, considering the fact that your religion and your group is immensely linked to colonization, and most of the times violent colonization. The conversation for me goes a little bit darker. What about the people in the Middle East who were colonized by the Arabs and colonized by Islam, who no longer want to be a part of that supremacist system that oppresses them for not buying into being an Arab or being a Muslim, like the Coptics, the Mandeans, Maronite Christians in Lebanon, the Phoenicians of Lebanon, the Kurdish people. There's so many different groups who fall under this category of people who have been Arabized and Islamized, and many of them rejected outright today. So can we acknowledge that they have rights as well to not want to be a part of the system? Can we acknowledge that they deserve a right to be able to do what they want as well, outside of the guides of violent ideology? You know, it's a tricky area because I understand what is seen as the Muslim world, but I reject it. But do we give these people free reign to do what they want because they are under Islamic colonization today? You know, it's a conversation to be had. But all of this comes down to the people in Europe, the people in the West. Are you okay with seeing what has happened in the Middle East? And I know that many of you are ignorant on what has happened in the Middle East. That's maybe why you watch me. Are you okay with what happened in the Middle East happening to your society, to your country, to your nation, to your state? Are you okay? Are you content with that? Would you be happy seeing your country Islamized, Arabized? You have to settle that question within yourself. I can't do the deen for you. You have to understand within yourself, you have to process, is there a reality that my country becomes a Muslim majority country, an Arabized country? It can happen. It has happened to many nations in the Middle East. And maybe there was a pause in time, but if you allow it to happen, you have to be content with that it's happening, or you have to fight against the ideology that's progressing in your country. Trust me, the people of the Middle East are worse off after Arabism and Islamism. They are not better off. There are a few countries who have benefited from the Arabization and the Islamization of their nations. Very few countries. A majority of them are in turmoil and have very, very big issues, politically, societally, on the war front, religiously. It has not helped the region. It has hurt the region. So whatever heyday or glory days or golden age there was for Islam, they came and they went. And now we are left, the generation today, to pick up those pieces. You have to make the decision yourself in the West. Are you willing to go through that same part? Do you want to go through that? Or do you want to stand against what's coming? This is not to demonize Muslims. It's not to demonize Arabs. It is purely a logical question. What happened in the Middle East and North Africa is a disservice to the Middle East and North Africa. Are you willing to let it happen to your country too? Make that calculation yourself. I'll see you in the next one. I love you guys a long time. Goodbye, class. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.